y'all, it's Brooke Sellas, and welcome back to another episode of the Social Media CX Podcast. Last week, I unpacked Phil Tregis's Empath Framework for Human-First Customer Care. And I teased you with this little bomb. Empathy isn't just a nice to have, it's a revenue driver. Today, I'm showing you how to prove that. Spoiler, when brands engage with empathy on social, they often see a 20 to 40% lift in revenue. So let's break it down. Welcome to the Social Media CX Podcast, where social media meets customer experience and where all fires, no rainbows is the current reality for most brands. I'm Brooke Sellas, CEO of B Squared Media, and I'm on a mission to change that. Social media can be the MVP of your CX strategy, and I'm here to show you how. Each week, we'll tackle the challenges of social care head-on with candid interviews, real-world case studies, and actionable advice to turn your social channels into loyalty-building, revenue-driving dopamine machines. Whether you're managing customer complaints, trying to engage meaningfully, or just tired of missing DMs, this podcast is your guide to putting out the fires and building the rainbows. Customers don't log into social hoping to be ignored, though sadly, many of them still are. They want to be seen, heard, and helped. And yes, speed does matter here. The brands we work with have slashed response times by almost 4,000%. The math there is going from more than 20 hours to respond to under 10 minutes. But here's the thing, speed without empathy falls flat. Sure, you can respond in 60 seconds, but if the tone is robotic or dismissive, you lose. Speed plus empathy is the golden combo that turns a frustrated rant into a brand win. And that's where the dollars show up. So how do you measure empathy? Not with the smiley face survey, but with real KPIs. Let's go deeper because this is where the aha happens. First, I want you to look at response time. How quickly do you enter the conversation? On social, customers expect a response in 30 minutes or less. But the average brand still takes hours, sometimes days. Imagine this. A customer tweets that their washing machine is broken and you reply 12 hours later. Too late, they've already called a competitor. Now flip that. You respond in 10 minutes with empathy. You say something like, "That sounds so frustrating. Let's get you fixed up fast." You're not just fast, you're first. And the first responder usually wins the business. Resolution rate is another thing. Are you actually solving problems or just placating people? For example, "We're sorry for the inconvenience" isn't a resolution, but "we've sent you a replacement overnight and the tracking number is in your DMs" is. Empathy isn't empty words, it's follow through. A high resolution rate proves your care is operational, not just fluff. Brand sentiment is something I also want you to keep in mind because this is where empathy really flexes. Say a customer comes in hot with something like, "This is the worst service I've ever had." A cold corporate reply will only fuel that fire, but a human one, "I can see how upsetting this must be. Let's fix this right now," can totally flip the script. We've seen negative to positive sentiment shifts in a single thread. That's measurable empathy, hard at work. Here's the kicker. I talk about acquisition and retention or gain and retain labeling on social media conversations all the time because most brands assume that social is all complaints. Many, when we survey them, say that 95% of the conversation is going to be customer support on social and only 5% of it will be acquisition or potential gaining of revenue. Wrong. When we tag conversations, we often see 20% plus pre-purchase questions, meaning they're in the buying moment. That's hidden revenue sitting in your DMs. For example, when someone asks on Instagram, "Does this come in blue?" that's not a complaint. That's a buying signal. If you answer quickly and with empathy, "Yes, here's the link. And by the way, we just got a limited edition in your size," you've turned the question into cash. Let me bring this to life. Brother International, one of our clients, cut social response times by thousands of a percent. The result, happier customers, fewer escalations, and measurable revenue impact. And it's not just them. An opt-in Monster report states that customers report spending 20 to 40% more on brands that have interacted with them on social media. You know why? Because empathy scales trust. Trust scales loyalty, and loyalty is the ultimate growth loop. Do you need 20 to 40% more revenue? Then just start responding on social. All right, let's get tactical. You've got the empathy, you've got the metrics, but how do you take this to your boss, your CFO, or your board, the people who want to see the dollar signs? Here's how. Align empathy with SMART goals. SMART, if you remember, is specific, measurable, achievable, relevant, and time-bound. So don't just say we want to get faster on social. That's too vague. Say we'll reduce response times from 12 hours to 30 minutes by Q4. That's specific, measurable, and tied to customer expectations. And when you hit that goal, you can directly tie faster response times to higher conversions. Because remember, 2 out of 3 customers say speed is just as important as price. That's a CFO-friendly stat. Next, I want you to build workflows that empower humans. Empathy can't scale if your agents are tied up in red tape. For example, let's say someone posts a complaint about a delayed delivery. Happens all the time, right? If your frontline rep has to escalate 5 layers up to offer a $10 coupon, by the time approval comes, the customer's long gone. Instead, give your team the autonomy to resolve up to, say, $50 without approval. We call this a bar tab if you've read my book, Conversations That Connect, and trust me, it works. Hey y'all, Brooke Sellas here. I have a hard truth for you. While you're posting content on social media, your competitors are actually converting conversations. Every ignored comment, every slow reply, every missed DM, it's not just a service problem, it's a strategy crisis. And right now, your competitors are building empires from the conversations you abandoned on social media. That's why we've built the B² Social Care Audit. It's the only data-driven report that shows you the invisible sales opportunities hiding in your comments and DMs, where your ad spend is wasted because your personas don't match reality, how fast your competitors are, and why speed alone is winning them customers, and the exact steps to turn those blind spots into a revenue engine. This isn't guesswork. It's your roadmap for assumption to action, built on real customer conversations. Brands that get it right see response time improvements in the thousands of percent and even a 20 to 40% lift in revenue from social engagement. So stop letting your competitors own the conversation. Schedule your social care audit today at bsquared.media/social-care-audit. Train your team with tone of voice guides so that every reply feels on brand but also human. And document those escalation paths so they know when to loop in product, PR, or legal. That's empathy operationalized. Finally, I want you to report these things in business terms. This is the big one, folks. Don't walk into the boardroom and say, "We've had warmer conversations." That won't fly. Instead, I want you to say something like, "We turned 18% of frustrated rants into positive retention outcomes, saving an estimated $250,000 in churn this quarter." Or, "We uncovered that 22% of our social convos were pre-purchase, leading to potential $1.2 million in attributed revenue." Boing! That's the sound of my eyeballs coming out of my skull if you're listening and not watching, because that's what your C-suite's gonna do when you use stats like this. These aren't fluffy. It's finance language. And when you talk empathy in dollars, budget approvals get a whole lot easier. So let's land this plane. Empathy isn't fluff, it's fuel. It drives faster responses, better resolutions, and more retention. And yes, even more revenue. If you're not measuring empathy today, start now. Track the KPIs, tie them back to growth. And when someone says empathy doesn't scale, you can look them dead in the eye and say, actually, it pays. Hair flip. Now, let me ask you, are you tracking the ROI of empathy with your social care? If not, I promise you, you're leaving money on the table. Next week, we're going one layer deeper into clarity because more content doesn't equal more clients. Clarity does, though. Stick around. Thanks for tuning in to the Social Media CX podcast. If you loved today's episode, don't forget to subscribe, leave a review, and share it with someone who needs to up their social care game.